evening and welcome to NTD News. I'm Stephanie Cox. Here are today's top stories. The Biden administration, in a bid to lower gas prices, is releasing tens of millions of barrels of oil from the nation's emergency stockpile. It's the largest release ever. How soon will Americans see lower prices? How long will they last? And how will OPEC respond? Another day closer to the verdict in the Ahmaud Arbery murder trial. No more witness testimony as the judge now leaves it up to the jury. A final autopsy report shows that Brian Laundrie died by suicide. He was a person of interest in the murder of his fiancée, Gabby Petito. Smash and grab thieves continue to target California's high-end stores. A few Bay Area shops and city officials are now taking precautions after a weekend of retail theft. President Biden at the White House today updated Americans on the economy and his plan to tackle inflation and surging gas prices. He's released the largest amount ever from the nation's emergency oil reserves. NTD's Melina Weiskup reports from Washington, D.C.
Across the nation, people are paying over $1 more per gallon at the pump compared to last year. The average price now at $3.41. California is hit the hardest, where people are paying close to $5 a gallon. President Biden hopes his plan to release oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve will help.
Today, we're launching a major effort to moderate the price of oil, an effort that will span the globe in its reach and ultimately reach your corner gas station, God willing.
The Department of Energy will release 50 million barrels of oil from the emergency stockpile, which has around 600 million barrels stored up.
The world produces about 100 million barrels a day. So 50 million barrels is roughly half world production for one day. But that can still affect the market. It really depends what other players in the market do. Yes, it can provide some short-term help. From a policy point of view, I would have argued this is not a good idea. You should save it for a real emergency. That's what its purpose is.
Oil from the stockpile is usually released only under dire circumstances, like a military conflict or after a severe hurricane. But this time, it's intended to influence prices. But how soon could Americans see those lower prices?
So they could go down starting today, and I would expect that to happen over the next week or two. The national average could drop 5 to maybe as much as 15 cents a gallon or even more, just depending on exactly how this develops over the next couple of days.
We're hopeful that prices will be stabilized and start to move down. We are not saying that there is going to be some dramatic difference.
While prices could go down for a little while, some say it's putting a Band-Aid on a long-term problem.
50 million barrels is about 2.5 days of U.S. oil consumption. So it's not sizable, and it's not going to be long-lasting. It's going to be a short-term impact.
Biden says many other countries are seeing high gas prices right now, too. And he denies that his climate change policies, like shutting down pipelines and his plans to ban oil and gas leasing on public lands, are contributing to higher costs.
My effort to combat climate change is not raising the price of gas or increasing its availability. The big part of the reason Americans are facing high gas prices is because oil-producing countries and large companies have not ramped up the supply of oil quickly enough to meet the demand.
In an attempt to tame the prices from OPEC, Biden asked 5 countries, China, India, Japan, South Korea, and the United Kingdom, to release oil from their stockpiles at the same time. And reports are surfacing that OPEC may retaliate against these measures by scaling back on their own oil production. And experts tell us that if OPEC does take this approach, it could lead to the Biden administration's efforts here having little to no impact at all on gas prices. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
And Biden also gave a few comments on the overall economic recovery. Unemployment has fallen for 7 weeks in a row, and now it's down to 4.6%. Biden says the supply chain congestion is easing, and major retailers tell him that the shelves will be stocked for the holidays. And in Georgia, the jury's finished listening to the prosecution and defense teams in the Ahmaud Arbery case. Now it's the jury's responsibility to deliberate the facts and reach a verdict. NTD's Miguel Moreno has that update.
3 men charged with murder in the killing of Ahmaud Arbery now wait the jury's verdict.
Whatever your verdict is, it must be unanimous, that is, agreed by all, as to each count of the indictment and as to each defendant.
In February 2020, Arbery was running in the city of Brunswick. 2 of the defendants, Greg and Travis McMichael, saw the 25-year-old and chased him in a pickup truck. William Roddy Bryan, the 3rd defendant, joined the chase and recorded this video of the incident. Travis eventually opens fire at Arbery as Arbery throws punches and grabs at the gun. Defense attorneys say the McMichaels attempted a citizen's arrest as they had reason to suspect Arbery had stolen items from a home, and they shot him, killing Arbery in self-defense.
Because you do have the right to perform a citizen's arrest. You do have the right to have a firearm when you make an arrest. You do have the right to stop a person and to hold them and detain them for the police. And there is risk with that. And there are tragic consequences that can come from that. And we can all sit here right now and say what the state has said from the very beginning and what Travis himself recognizes. If he had only stayed home that day.
Prosecutor Linda Denikoski, however, claims that the attempted citizen's arrest was unlawful, and she refutes the defense's self-defense claim.
In this case, they committed 4 different felonies, including the aggravated assault with a shotgun. They started it. They do not get to claim self-defense. And then, of course, provocation. You can't force someone to defend themselves against you, so you get to claim self-defense. This isn't the Wild West. No.
Each defendant faces the same 9 charges, including Bryan, who joined the chase and recorded it. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
A final autopsy report shows Brian Laundrie, a key suspect in the death of his fiancée, Gabby Petito, died from a gunshot wound to the head. His death has been ruled a suicide. That's according to a lawyer for the Laundrie family who made the announcement today. Last month, Laundrie's remains were found at a Florida nature reserve. The remains were sent to an anthropologist for further analysis. The 23-year-old had been the subject of a massive FBI-led manhunt since September. That's after Petito's remains were found. Her death was ruled a homicide by manual strangulation. The young couple was on a cross-country trip when Petito, a 22-year-old Long Island native, went missing. Laundrie returned home in her van without her. And in Florida, a judge has posthumously exonerated 4 black men, known as the Groveland Four, accused of raping a white teenager 72 years ago during the era of social segregation in the South. Judge Heidi Davis on Monday set aside the judgments and sentences of Walter Irvin and Charles Greenlee. She dismissed the indictments of Sam Shepard and Ernest Thomas. Governor Ron DeSantis had already pardoned the 4 men posthumously in 2019. Days after Norma Paget accused the 4 men of raping her, one of the 4 was hunted down and killed by a posse of 1,000 men. Paget publicly opposed the pardons of the Groveland Four in 2019, saying that she had told the truth. And theft by large groups of organized criminals is taking place across the U.S. in pharmacies and retail stores. Today, electronics giant Best Buy warned its workers might quit because of safety concerns. NTD's Phil Zoe has the story.
Best Buy is the latest victim of flash mob robberies across the U.S.
We are seeing more loosely organized groups come together and target our stores.
Barry says they go in and grab large amounts of merchandise, then run out.
For our employees, these are traumatic experiences, and they are happening more and more across the country. Obviously, their safety is our first priority.
She said workers may start quitting for their safety.
We have to go back to allowing police officers to do their job and letting the criminals know, you do not run the asylum. You do not run society.
Officer and founder of Blue Lives Matter New York City says the government has to lock up the bad guys and not let them out.
When you steal from these department stores 50, 60 times, there's no business with you being on the street. So you got to set an example, put the bad guys behind bars, and we'll see the crime start to go down.
Psychologist Dr. Barbara Becker-Holstein says it's important for workers to feel safe at work, especially after the pandemic, when people are fragile.
To go to work and then be frightened is more than they can handle, and they look for a way out. Sometimes it's quitting, sometimes it's calling in sick.
Dr. Holstein says management can help by showing that they genuinely care for their workers.
What we want to do is sort of like animalistic. We want to just give up. It's time, it's over. But the human part of us needs to come through with caring and kindness. Even a note to an employee at the end of the day. I see you did a good job. Great. You know, people need to not give up.
Stocks of Best Buy went down as much as 17% on the news before rebounding slightly to around $120. Phil Zhou, NTD News.
And with the holiday season approaching, organized crime continues to target high-end stores in California. After a series of smash-and-grab thefts over the weekend, some city officials say things need to change. We hear more from NTD's Cynthia Kai.
Organized crime continues to target California's high-end stores. In downtown Palo Alto, 2 businesses were the latest target of organized crime on Sunday night. One of the targeted stores, The Real Reals, is now taking precaution and has boarded up its storefront. These cases are reported following a series of smash-and-grab heists over the weekend, starting with an 80-person mob that cleared out the Louis Vuitton in San Francisco's Union Square. In a CNN interview with San Francisco District Attorney Chesa Boudin, he says he plans to file felony charges today against the 8 people arrested in Friday night's organized retail theft.
This isn't a one-person job, and it's not a problem that's limited to San Francisco. As you pointed out a few moments ago, we're seeing these kinds of brazen robberies and burglaries all across the country.
Amidst the near-daily crime spree since the weekend, the DA is also facing a recall election for his handling of the city's crime. San Francisco Mayor London Breed also announced on Saturday that the city will limit car access to Union Square in response to the mobs of thieves that ransacked high-end stores in recent days. The thief mobs consistently use getaway cars parked nearby the crime scene. Walnut Creek's mayor is also not allowing cars down a street after 80 people stole from a Nordstrom store over the weekend. Similar organized crime has also hit Southern California. Around midnight on Sunday, police responded to attempted break-ins at the Louis Vuitton and Saks Fifth Avenue stores in Beverly Hills. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
Customs and Border Protection made a record-breaking drug bust on the California-Mexico border, and the driver was arrested. Here are the details.
California Border Patrol intercepted nearly 9 tons of methamphetamine and 400 pounds of fentanyl. The record-breaking seizure was made at the Otay Mesa Commercial Port of Entry on November 18th. U.S. Customs and Border Protection said the seizure for both drugs is the largest in the entire United States since 2020. The truck came to the U.S. border around 8 p.m. on Tuesday. The truck's manifest showed it was hauling auto parts. However, x-rays showed anomalies and a drug-sniffing dog alerted the rear door of the trailer. Acting U.S. Attorney Randy Grossman said the staggering seizure shows the severity of mass production of methamphetamine and fentanyl. The driver, a Mexican national named Carlos Martin Quintana Arias, was arraigned on November 19th. He faces a minimum 10-year prison sentence and a $10 million fine.
A 6th person, a child, has died in the aftermath of that parade crash in Wisconsin. This as the suspect appears in court for the first time after the weekend rampage. Here's the update.
Darrell Brooks, the suspect in the Waukesha parade crash, is appearing in court for the first time since the weekend rampage. In that crash, 6 people died and 48 others were injured, including at least 18 children.
You're charged in count 1 with first-degree intentional homicide. That's a Class A felony, and that has a maximum possible penalty of being sentenced to imprisonment for life.
The 39-year-old was charged with 5 counts of intentional homicide. A prosecutor on Tuesday says he faces 5 consecutive life sentences if he's convicted on all counts.
Today we learned of another death of a child.
Jackson Sparks, an 8-year-old boy, has died from injuries suffered in the Sunday tragedy. His family made the announcement Tuesday afternoon before the hearing. He is the 6th victim.
We do expect a 6th count for first-degree intentional homicide to be issued or added.
The Waukesha mayor has spoken out against the accused.
I believe that he'll be in prison for the rest of his life, based upon what I know about this. I can't imagine anything other than that happening.
A criminal complaint released Tuesday further details what happened on Sunday. According to the complaint, a police officer witnessed Brooks's vehicle take an abrupt left turn into the crowd, making it clear that, quote, this was an intentional act to strike and hurt as many people as possible. Another witness indicates that the car continued to drive in a zigzag motion as if the SUV was trying to avoid vehicles, not people. As charges are being rolled out, new questions emerge.
We have no information that Brooks knew anybody in the parade.
While people have ruled out terrorism as a motive, Waukesha Police Chief Dan Thompson says Brooks's real motive for crashing into the crowd remains unclear. Another question lingers around Brooks's release from jail less than 2 weeks ago. He allegedly ran a car over a woman, but was later out on a $1,000 bond, an amount authorities now call inappropriately low. As the community seeks solace and holds vigils, dozens injured are still clinging to life.
If your child is injured, it's not easy.
One child has died, and at least 10 kids were in intensive care on Monday. According to a GoFundMe campaign, a girl named Jesselyn lost a kidney and her pelvis was fractured in the crash. She remains in critical condition as of Tuesday afternoon. A Wisconsin commissioner set the bail for Brooks at $5 million.
And the International Olympic Committee is facing growing scrutiny after its recent video call with Chinese tennis star Peng Shuai. The conversation, as well as what the IOC is not disclosing about it, has got people asking even more questions. Will Ripley has more.
She was part of his movie. Free Peng Shuai, the growing call of protesters,
Peng Shuai,
politicians, professional athletes. A global outcry for the Chinese tennis star many fear is being silenced.
It's time to speak up because there is less than 100 days till the Winter Olympics.
The International Olympic Committee trying to calm the controversy. An IOC statement seems to support the Chinese government narrative that the three-time Olympian is safe and well, despite growing concern for her freedom. The IOC handing out this single image Sunday of a 30-minute video call between Peng, IOC President Thomas Bach, and two other officials, asking to, quote, respect her privacy. An IOC official on the call says, I was relieved to see that Peng Shuai was doing fine, which was our main concern. Some suggest the governing body's real concern is not Peng, but profits. The IOC statement fails to mention Peng's explosive allegations 3 weeks ago that one of China's most senior communist leaders, photographed with the IOC's Bach in 2016, sexually assaulted her. Unlike the IOC, the Women's Tennis Association prepared to pull hundreds of millions of dollars in business out of China, demanding direct communication with Peng, unmonitored, uncensored. The WTA telling CNN, this video does not change our call for a full, fair, and transparent investigation without censorship.
The history books look back at this time, they will say the WTA, what an incredible masterclass in humanitarian leadership, the right way to do it, to call China on its abuses, and the International Olympic Committee sitting there, as they always do, basically doing nothing.
Which some say makes the IOC complicit in the apparent silencing of a tennis icon who dared to speak out against former Vice Premier Zhang Gaoli. He's known to keep a low profile, portrayed in Chinese propaganda as down-to-earth, a crusader against corruption.
The Communist Party will deal with this as an internal matter. I really doubt that they will actually refer this to prosecutors of the state, because that would raise just too many issues. All senior leaders have the goods on everybody else.
The United States, France, and the UK have expressed concerns over Peng Shuai, and tennis players including Naomi Osaka, Serena Williams, Novak Djokovic, and Billie Jean King have also joined the list of those backing Peng. President Biden's infrastructure law includes $23 billion in new grant opportunities for transit expansion. New York Governor Kathy Hochul hopes that some of that money will go towards the expansion of an unfinished subway line in New York City. NTD's Jason Perry has the story.
I'm here in Harlem, and I'm underground at the 2nd Avenue subway station, which is unfinished, as you can see, and has been this way since the 1970s. Governor Kathy Hochul hopes to use some federal funding from the infrastructure bill to help finish this project. She said there was untapped potential beneath the city streets for decades.
The vision started in Harlem back in the 20s, and they were so close. And all of a sudden, something happened that was unforeseen, which was the Great Depression. That sidetracked it again. They were ready to go in 1939, and World War II slowed it down. Then they were ready to go in the 1970s, and the financial crisis of that era slowed it down again. So finally, in 2021, and hopefully approvals very soon will allow us to announce the start of it in 2022.
New York has put in an application for federal funding to finish the project, and Hochul hopes it will be approved by the end of this year or early next year.
Overall, we're rethinking the transit experience from Penn Station to new investments in our subways and buses, making our systems accessible, safe, and reliable, and making sure that we protect the overall health of our communities. So this has been a tremendous collaborative effort. I love working with my partners in Washington. I've worked with them literally as one of them for a long time. I know how hard they work, but to be able to get this over the finish line during my administration is going to be so exciting, and I cannot wait to get started. So, ladies and gentlemen, next stop, 125th Street. Yeah. And with that,
the governor says Harlem is the most public transit dependent neighborhood in all of New York City, with over 70% of workers using public transit to get to work. She hopes the 2nd Avenue subway station will be finished in the next 6 to 8 years. Jason Perry, NTD News, New York.
A statue of a founding father is being moved from its nearly 200-year residence at New York City Hall. The move comes after the city's Public Design Commission voted unanimously for its removal. A statue of Thomas Jefferson will no longer reside at New York City Hall. This after some city council members objected to the presence of the 7-foot statue of Jefferson because he was a slave owner. In October, the New York City Design Commission, whose members were appointed by Mayor Bill de Blasio, voted unanimously to relocate the statue. Similar monuments, including statues of Civil War Confederate leaders, have been targeted for removal across the U.S. in recent years. The likeness of Jefferson has been at the New York City Hall since 1834 and will now be on long-term loan at the New York Historical Society. And an Amtrak train crashed into a truck in one Northern California city on Monday night. There were no serious injuries. Here's NTD's Eileen Eng with more details.
An Amtrak train crashed into a truck in San Pablo, California at around 8:15 p.m. on Monday. According to the Fire Battalion Chief Darren Johnson, who was present at the scene, a trailer truck carrying 5 cars got stuck on the tracks between Market and Chelsea Avenue near Rumrill Boulevard. All the cars on the trailer flew off from the impact.
The train proceeded down to the next crossing. The engine somehow disconnected from the cars, and the cars went into emergency operation to where they stopped altogether. The engine came off of the tracks. It didn't fall over or anything like that, but it did come off the rails, and there was some severe damage to the engine.
The train was carrying 30 passengers. None of them were injured. The train's engineer hurt his back as he was trying to brace himself to avoid hitting the trailer. He was not badly injured and was able to walk. Johnson said these types of incidents are rare. 5 ambulances were on site to check patients. There were no serious injuries. Eileen Eng, NTD News, California.
New footage of a deadly police shootout at a California strip mall has been released, along with a change in the official report of what happened. A warning that some viewers may find some of the footage disturbing. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
The police department in Milpitas, California released new footage and updated their report of what happened during a fatal shootout at a strip mall last month. The incident involved a suspect with a stolen vehicle who was later arrested and died a few days afterwards. Originally, the police reported that the suspect first fired at the detectives, but after a more in-depth review, they updated their report.
But since interviewing our detectives and reviewing the body-worn camera video, we've learned a detective fired his weapon first as a man began to emerge from his vehicle armed with a gun.
The police department released a portion of the body cam footage from the incident on Friday in an effort to be transparent and to help the public have a better understanding of what happened.
Let me see your hands!
The suspect was given medical aid until paramedics arrived. He died 4 days later in the hospital from his injuries. The police department said that no bystanders or officers were injured during the incident. Jason Blair, NTD News, California.
One mother took up a new hobby when the COVID-19 pandemic started last year. She's painting messages of hope and either gifting them or putting them out into the world for people to find. But it's not on your typical canvas. We hear more from NTD's David Lamb.
Some individuals may have come across kindness rocks around their community. One California teacher took up a new hobby during pandemic lockdowns in 2020.
I needed somewhere to be creative, and so I figured rocks. And I liked the rocks because then I can leave them out for people to find instead of basically cramming my house with my art because I'd run out of space. And it just kind of grew from there and became a little bit of an obsession.
Moda likes to leave them in obvious places for people to find. She brings the stones to life with ladybugs, rainbows, or something fun.
Oh look, it's a bug. Wait, no, it's a rock. And it seems to have a nice message on it. It says, keep, share, or rehide to keep the kindness going.
According to Moda's Instagram page, people seem to think her work is solid.
These are going to a high school in Southern California for their kindness club. Over here, just some words of virtues like hope, peace, respect, kindness, faith, joy.
Moda doesn't sell the rocks, and she says if she does, it will feel like work and make her not want to do it anymore.
I do tons of rocks that say hope, because that's really what everybody, I think, needs and wants, especially during like pandemic and hard times. And as long as you have hope, then, things can get better.
She's been hard at work with a steady output, saying she's painted around 3,000 rocks by now.
I leave them everywhere, but it's just sometimes people, they need to see that, I teach teenagers, and so just sometimes they need it too. They're going through a lot, Everybody is, really just because of the pandemic, and then right now throw in the holidays, and I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna make some extra rocks right now and really make sure that they get out there.
She finds her quarry of blank canvases around the community and at local rockeries. Most of the rocks first get a base coat of white as a stepping stone to bring out the colors.
Hey there, hot stuff. Like, who's not going to smile? There's actually a person who created this whole kindness rocks movement, and she's over on the East Coast.
She lets her mood drive her color palette. Her craft came from a childhood hobby.
A lot of just the art, I just used to do it when I was younger because we didn't have all that technology. And then
Her 11-year-old daughter also has a creative side, making bracelets and pillows.
Yeah, I make a lot of these for classmates, because in class sometimes we do like relaxing times and we just put that.
Moda says she also gives her creations to others. Friends and families usually pass them along throughout California, and they even get as far as Seattle and Boston. Reporting in Hollister, California, David Lamb, NTD News.
Coming up, as a small European country becomes the target of China's fury, the U.S. and European Union respond. It's all because the country is becoming closer with Taiwan. And 4 are dead in China following a 6-story building collapse in the south. Disaster struck in the middle of the night, adding fuel to the flame of criticism over China's poor construction standards in so-called tofu buildings. That and more here on NTD News.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
You worked hard for your money. You invest in stability.
for your retirement and your family's future, to build and leave them with something greater. The next unprecedented financial crisis, political misstep, or unstable government can depreciate it all away. It was called the gold standard for a reason, the financial preservation of tomorrow. Diversify your assets against inflation, market volatility, and the unknown with real money. Hedge your wealth with the purest form of money, physical gold and silver. Because any currency printed on paper can be manipulated. What's backing up your IRA? Do what you need to do right now to be prepared with the Reagan Gold Group. Visit now, rggusakit.com, or call us at 866-912-1384. Receive up to $2,500 in free silver coins and a free safe with your new precious metals IRA. Call now.
A small European country is facing China's fury after it strengthened its ties with Taiwan. The U.S. is offering that country assistance, and the European Union is taking a side too. Here's more.
China voiced strong dissatisfaction with the EU member nation Lithuania on Sunday and downgraded their diplomatic ties. That's after Lithuania allowed Taiwan to open a de facto embassy there. But at a news conference, the country's prime minister says she does not regret her decision.
Lithuania wants a more intense economic, cultural, and scientific relationship with Taiwan. It was announced in the government program, and this should not have been a surprise to anyone.
Beijing views the self-ruled and democratically governed Taiwan as its territory, with no rights to the trappings of a state. It has stepped up pressure on other countries to downgrade or sever their relations with the island, even for non-official ties. On Monday, China's foreign ministry demanded that Lithuania end its newly enhanced relationship with Taiwan and threatened Lithuania, saying,
"The decision was made at the expense of Lithuania's own interests."
But Lithuania defended its right to expand cooperation with Taiwan and said its foreign minister would go to Washington to discuss trade and investment projects. On Friday, a U.S. official said Lithuania would sign a $600 million trade deal with the U.S. On the same day, another U.S. official warned what they termed other countries against threatening Lithuania.
Reaffirm our support for our valued NATO ally and EU partner Lithuania. We reject attempts by other countries to interfere in Lithuania's sovereign decision to deepen cooperation with Taiwan.
Earlier on Friday, China warned Lithuania it would take all necessary measures in response to Lithuania's Taiwan office. The Taiwanese representative office in Lithuania finally opened last Thursday.
4 are dead in China following a 6-story building collapse in the south. Disaster struck in the middle of the night, adding fuel to the flame of criticism over China's poor construction standards and so-called tofu buildings. Elsewhere, a young man from Wuhan says he's cutting ties with the Chinese Communist Party with help from a U.S.-based website. He joins around 400 million others that have done the same and tells us what sparked his journey. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has more.
Reports of a residential building collapse are coming out of China. The incident killed 4 people in a case that echoes concerns over Chinese construction safety. The building served as a dormitory for local workers at a pharmaceutical plant located in the southern Chinese province of Jiangxi. The 6-story structure collapsed on Monday evening. Chinese state-run media reported that the search for victims concluded Tuesday morning. They confirmed all 4 people who had been buried in the debris had died. NTD cannot independently verify this information. Media reports also explained that a family living on the first floor started hearing strange noises right before the collapse. They managed to escape just in time. The building was built around 30 years ago in the 90s. The cause of the collapse is still under investigation. China has sought to improve construction quality and industrial safety. But accidents are still known to occur, with some companies cutting corners to lower costs. Tofu buildings have long been a big problem in China. The name comes from the quality of construction, which is said to be as unstable as tofu. Videos circulating online show some of these types of buildings. Over the weekends, part of a high-rise building's facade peeled off. And in Beijing, video shows a man scraping away at part of a wall with his bare hands. In the clip, someone asks, didn't they use any cement? As similar problems within China continue to surface, next we look at another issue tied to Beijing. 3 more Chinese people are speaking out about a major decision to quit the Chinese Communist Party. They join around 400 million Chinese people that have abandoned their ties to the CCP and its affiliated organizations. The 3 people announced their choice to quit through a U.S.-based website hosted by the Global Service Center for Quitting the CCP. One of them is a young man from Wuhan. He declared he would cut ties with the party last month. He gave himself the pseudonym Xiang Yi to protect his identity and to keep himself and his family inside China safe. On the Toidang website, visitors to the page can quit the Communist Party via pseudonym. This method is widely used to avoid possible retaliation from Beijing. Yi says the whole process started last year. That's when he learned how to overcome China's internet blockade and visit websites that are censored in the country. He recounted feeling awful after reading about Beijing's early cover-up of the CCP virus, which causes COVID-19, especially considering his hometown of Wuhan, the epicenter of the initial outbreak. He also described researching Beijing's decision not to close its airports. That led to large numbers of people leaving the country, allowing the virus to spread quickly around the world. He calls the treatment of Wuhan citizens at the time inhuman.
In the early stages of pandemic prevention, the CCP treated us like animals, just shut us in at home. As for grocery supplies during lockdown, the videos posted online about garbage trucks transporting food are all true.
Alongside Yi's decision to quit the party, 2 others announced they would leave the Young Pioneers Organization. That's the Communist Party's youth organization. Almost all Chinese children are made to join the organization, with the youngest of them just 6 years old. Yang Li and Qing Men are among those who joined at young ages, but their views of the party began to shift when authorities forcibly demolished their homes.
Our own home was taken away by the party. We have been petitioning to defend our rights, but are constantly suppressed. We have seen through the evil party. It's a demon. We look forward to the day when the Communist Party will face punishment. We denounce our ties to its affiliated organization, the Young Pioneers.
The movement to quit the CCP began more than 10 years ago, organized by the Global Service Center for Quitting the Chinese Communist Party. It's headquartered in New York and has more than 100 service centers across the world. That's in addition to its web presence. The center seeks to educate people around the world about the dangers of communism.
Coming up, tragedy in Western Bulgaria. At least 45 people, including 12 children, have died in a bus crash. Most of the passengers were tourists. And a German professor says it's unfair for governments to single out the unvaccinated. He suggests that vaccinated people also play a relevant role in the pandemic. More on that in just a moment here on NTD News. At least 45 people, including 12 children, have died in a bus crash in Western Bulgaria. Officials say the bus, carrying mostly North Macedonian tourists, crashed into flames on a motorway in the early hours of this morning.
At least 45 people died in a bus accident in Western Bulgaria on Tuesday, including 12 children. TV footage showed the bus charred and gutted by fire. On board the bus, mostly North Macedonian tourists. The cause of the crash was unclear. The bus appeared to have hit a highway barrier either before or after it caught fire. Bulgaria's Interior Minister, Boyko Rashkov, vowed to carry out an investigation.
Not everyone can stand such a picture. The picture is terrifying. The details of this tragedy will be investigated. It is hard to look there. Hard to look. I do not know if we should go into the details at these early hours. Maybe we should leave it for a later hour. In my experience, I have never seen anything like this.
7 people who leapt from the burning bus were rushed to hospital in Sofia and are in a stable condition. The accident happened on a motorway 28 miles west of Sofia, around 2 a.m. local time. North Macedonia's foreign minister said the coach party was returning from a weekend trip to Istanbul.
Australian authorities are removing COVID-19 positive patients and residents in the Northern Territory to a quarantine camp, according to a local official. That's after 9 cases were identified in the community of Bingeree. The Guardian reports that at least 38 people are being transferred to the camps, either as positive cases or close contacts. Meanwhile, residents of Bingeree and nearby Rockhole will go under hard lockdown, meaning they can leave only for medical treatment in an emergency or if required by law. They can no longer leave the house to go to work or school or buy food, supplies, exercise, act as a caregiver, or even get vaccinated. And officials in Europe have used the term pandemic of the unvaccinated, suggesting that unvaccinated people are responsible for the current wave of infections. One German professor writing in medical journal The Lancet disagrees, saying vaccinated people play a relevant role in the pandemic. This report from NTD's Earl Rhodes.
A recent research paper published in the Lancet Medical Journal argues that government's stigmatization of individuals not vaccinated against COVID-19 is not justified. German Dr. Günther Kampf, professor at the Institute of Hygiene at the University of Greifswald, says this view is far too simple. Across Europe, top officials have used the term pandemic of the unvaccinated, suggesting unvaccinated people put vaccinated people at risk and are responsible for the current wave of infections. Kampf wrote, "There is increasing evidence that vaccinated individuals continue to have a relevant role in transmission." One of Germany's leading virologists in early November said that vaccinated people increasingly contribute to the pandemic. Some countries with high vaccination rates, like Ireland and Belgium, have seen significant spikes in COVID-19 infections in recent weeks. Kampf cites Germany's official figures, showing over 60% of symptomatic COVID-19 cases in older patients were fully vaccinated. The head of the university hospital in Dresden, Germany, said on Monday, in his hospital, almost half of COVID patients, excluding those who are seriously ill, are vaccinated against the virus, and their share is growing. Earl Rhodes, NTD News.
Germany's highest peak opened for the winter season on Friday. Special COVID restrictions apply, including so-called 2G rules, which mean only people fully vaccinated against COVID-19 or who have recovered from the illness have access to the slopes. We've got more from NTD's Joy Dogood.
The slopes are open again at the Zugspitze, the highest mountain in Germany. Skiers wearing masks were seen riding chairlifts and getting onto cable cars as officials strictly enforced so-called 2G COVID rules. This means only vaccinated people or those who have recently recovered from COVID-19 are granted access. Some other adjustments were also made.
We have reduced the capacity in the cabins. For example, in the Zugspitze cable car to only 80 people instead of 120. In the rack railway, only seats may be occupied. And last but not least, there is a requirement to wear FFP2 face masks, which applies in queuing areas in the cabins and on all lifts.
Weather conditions are favourable.
Ja, mega. Also Wetter ist super. Mega. The weather is great. The snow is good, and of course we stay on the slopes. Next to it, there is not enough snow. We can't complain. It's warm, not too cold. The weather is great. There is enough snow, at least on the slopes, and so it couldn't be better.
However, the spokesman for the local cable car operator said his team had learned not to plan too far ahead.
We are enjoying the day today, and we are ensuring all measures are carried out so that we can operate the ski lifts. What happens tomorrow, we can't say at this point.
Hours later, the state premier of Bavaria, where the Zugspitze is located, announced a lockdown for unvaccinated people from next week. German Health Minister Jens Spahn said that a nationwide lockdown, including for vaccinated people, could not be ruled out, amid a reported spike in cases.
Coming up, the world's second largest amusement park lights up with 1 million Christmas lights. We take a look at the holiday adornments at Denmark's Tivoli Gardens. And we take a look at Disney's latest animated musical, Encanto. featuring a magical storyline and original songs by Lin-Manuel Miranda. More on that in just a moment here on NTD News.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. Cancel culture has not only affected myself and my pillow, but millions of you out there. Before all this started, I had already written in my memoir, I dedicate this book to anyone that's looking for hope. Well, right now, we're all looking for hope. I believe that my story is going to bring inspiration and hope to everyone. By the time you're done reading my book, you will believe that with God, all things are possible. To thank you all for your support, I'm offering some of my best prices ever on my pillow products, including this exclusive bundle. You get my book and these 5 My Pillows. They all have beautiful scenes and verses from the Bible, such as Isaiah 41:10. Do not fear, for I am with you. This 6-pack bundle is regularly $219. Now it's just $99.98 and free shipping with your promo code. Go to mypillow.com and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below. Thank you and God bless.
The clock face of Big Ben will emerge from a shroud of scaffolding in time for it to perform its most important annual role, the ringing in of a new year. A tradition watched by thousands on the streets of London and millions more on television.
The clock tower of the Houses of Parliament has been hidden for 3.5 years. In that time, hundreds of craftspeople have repaired masonry, replaced metalwork, repainted and regilded parts of the clock face in the biggest restoration since it was built in 1859. Project manager Nick Sturge said removing the scaffold is a massive milestone in the nearly £80 million restoration. On Monday, workers began the process of dismantling the scaffolding, a task that will take months. By New Year, the public will see all 4 clock faces with most of the scaffolding removed from the facade.
Denmark's Tivoli Gardens is brightening itself up for the holiday season. The amusement park is illuminated with close to 1 million Christmas lights. NTD's Chenny Wu gives us a look.
The world's second oldest amusement park, Copenhagen's Tivoli Gardens, is gleaming with nearly 1 million lights to mark the beginning of the Christmas season. Visitors travel from around the world to get a glimpse of the spectacle.
Well, I heard a lot about Tivoli before I came to Copenhagen. I got told it was magical in the wintertime, so we've come specifically to Copenhagen to see Tivoli. And it's kind of exactly what I thought it would be. It's amazing. Beautiful place.
Normally about 1 million people visit Tivoli around Christmas time, but last year it had to close after just 2 weeks because of the pandemic. Looking forward to a return to normalcy, this year's theme is togetherness, closeness, and love, and it's illustrated with hearts all over Tivoli.
It's really beautiful. I love seeing all the lights, and I love the hearts, and the hearts that I see now for Copenhagen, and it's just really charming.
Coming here, it just makes you, it really gets you in the mood for Christmas, which is nice.
More Christmas celebrations at Tivoli are expected to start as the holiday approaches. Chenny Wu, NTD News.
Disney's latest animated musical features an extended family living in the mountains of Colombia. David Daniel has a look.
Hola, casita.
Encanto gives us a magical house in Colombia and the extended family that lives there, all bestowed with magical gifts except daughter Maribel.
I'm not super strong like Luisa.
The donkeys got out again.
On it! Or effortlessly perfect like Señorita Perfecta Isabella.
It's a really hard thing at Mirabel's age, at 15, to train yourself to kind of think that you belong and that everything's gonna be okay and that you yourself are worthwhile. Oof, that's a hard one for anybody, but especially a teenage girl.
Those with gifts can find they quickly become responsibilities.
It's a role that you step into. You didn't ask for it. It's just something that is bestowed upon you, and then you must play it.
Even though you are, exhibit something that you're passionate about or good at, you still need room to experiment and to grow and to fall, and then that's okay.
Lin-Manuel Miranda helped write the story and contributed 8 original songs.
I remember writing the opening number, The Family Madrigal, before we had a second act or a third act. Here we go. Here's everyone you need to know. Here are all the chess pieces.
With so many magical pieces, it can be tough figuring out where you fit.
Gift or no gift, I am just as special as the rest of my family.
Sure. Who wants more pink?
All right, guys, where do I drop the wagon?
Maybe your gift is being in denial.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
And that's all for tonight's news. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Stephanie Cox.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selected videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.